Someone out there is listening and saying, oh yeah, communicate. How do I even begin communicating about, hey, I'm thinking of sleeping with other people. How do people go about that? Was that your journey, that in the beginning it was just you went out with people, but then you decided, hey, let's make them a relationship?
We actually didn't go out with anybody until for a while. We actually were talking about it for a while. It was just one of the initial ideas because we didn't know what we wanted to do just yet.
It was the initial stage of negotiation. So it was you're just negotiating, okay.
Because we didn't want to jump into it without any knowledge. It was something we wanted to make sure we were informed about. So we did a lot of research. What we ended up having a conversation one day where I was talking to her and I knew that I actually thought that she was gonna hate the idea of having other relationships more than just having sexual relationships. But I ended up talking to her about it and she was actually it made her a lot more comfortable, the idea of maybe dating somebody and then maybe having a more intimate relationship.
Dallas, it's so fun to hear you say that when you approached your partner, your girlfriend then, that she was open to it, because a lot of clients do make that assumption or are afraid of saying, I can approach my partner. She or he will say no. So they make that assumption. And for you, you discover actually she was open to those ideas.
I think that's one of the biggest things is actually when we were looking into it, one of the, nothing to do with the relationship, or well, yeah, I guess to do with the relationships, some of the stuff that people were suggesting to do while in being in a polyamorous relationship is you got to have communication. That's super paramount.
Communication, yes.
Yeah, in any relationship. And even when it was funny because even when we were monogamous, it was really interesting because we would see other couples and kind of think man, they don't talk very much, or they don't talk about the stuff that they kind of should be. They're kind of just making assumptions about how their partner is going to react.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, because someone out there is listening and saying, oh yeah, communicate. How do I even begin communicating about, hey, I'm thinking of sleeping with other people. How do people go about that? Imagine there's someone out there who is not an expert, haven't read a book, but desire, or deep down they feel that they want to open up their relationship. How can they approach their partner?
Well, that's actually really the problem is personally for me, because I had the communication there, I was fortunate enough to kind of be a lot more comfortable, kind of just easing into it. I wasn't hey, I just want to sleep around. That's not how it happened. It was a progression of events. It was a discussion that happened over quite a few months. Okay. And we did a lot of research, and we both brought some info to the table and just kind of some opinions. Our culture is actually really, really big on jealousy. We promote jealousy a lot.
Jealousy, huge one, yeah.
Which is a huge hurdle for a lot of people to get over. And to, especially for for anybody, I was going to say especially for men, but for anybody, communication is kind of put on a back burner. I mean, people always say you should talk to your partner, yada yada yada. But most people aren't going to talk to their partner because it makes them seem emotional or needy or something like that. There's always reasons for people to not communicate with their partners, I find, which is really unfortunate. So I think if somebody were to try and approach their partner, if they found that they were maybe polyamorous, or if somebody had approached them your partner that you've been with, and you had no information, it's going to be really difficult because the first thing most people are going to think of is that they're not good enough for that person, and that's really unfortunate because that's really not how it is at all.
It's not. Yeah, it's not about that for sure.
No,
it's
absolutely
not about
not.
That your current partner is not enough or it's not good enough.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. It's about deeper desire. It's about. Some people would say it's about who they are. This is part of who they are.
Absolutely. I think in my, personally, I think it's who I am. I know there's a lot of people who could go either way. They could be in a monogamous relationship and be happy, be poly and be happy. So it's different for everybody.